Welcome to today's quiz. Test your general knowledge with 100 quick-fire trivia questions. You'll have just 5 seconds to think before each answer is revealed, so be quick. Grab a pen and paper to keep your score, and let's get started. Here we go. What is a 5-sided polygon called? That's a pentagon. Helsinki is the capital of which country? That's Finland. Which musical features the characters Elphaba and Glinda? That's Wicked. Who was the second president of the United States? That was John Adams. Which TV show features the characters Walter White and Jesse Pinkman? That's Breaking Bad. In Greek mythology, the Minotaur had the body of a man and the head of a what? That's a bull. Which 1908 children's book features the characters Mole, Ratty, and Mr. Toad? That's The Wind in the Willows. In the Bible, who was swallowed by a great fish? That was Jonah. Which planet is 6th from the Sun? That's Saturn. In the 1997 film, Will Smith and which other actor played the Men in Black? That was Tommy Lee Jones. What is the longest river in Africa? That's the Nile. Gary Player is a former champion in which sport? That's golf. Which alcoholic drink is in a screwdriver cocktail? That's vodka. Which British actress is married to John Krasinski? That's Emily Blunt. The word feline relates to what type of animal? That's a cat. Who was Prime Minister of the UK for the whole of the 1980s? That was Margaret Thatcher. Who played Holly Golightly in the 1961 film, Breakfast at Tiffany's? That was Audrey Hepburn. What is the official currency of Mexico? That's the peso. Which bird is the traditional symbol of peace? That's a dove. Who released the 1986 song, Addicted to Love? That was Robert Palmer. Which country hosted the 2022 FIFA World Cup? That was Qatar. The cartoon character Pepe Le Pew is what type of animal? He's a skunk. Who wrote the novel, War and Peace? That was Leo Tolstoy. Who directed the 1993 film Schindler's List? That was Steven Spielberg. In mathematics, what is the name for a whole number greater than 1, that is divisible only by 1 and itself? That's a prime number. In Roman mythology, who performed 12 labors? That was Hercules. Sweet Dreams Are Made of This is a 1983 song by which band? That's the Eurythmics. Which Scottish scientist accidentally discovered penicillin? That was Alexander Fleming. Which country is singer Shakira from? She's from Colombia. What was the name of Shakespeare's wife? That was Anne Hathaway. Where in the body is the cochlea? That's the ear. What is the name of Keanu Reeves' character in The Matrix? That's Neo. How many letters are in the Greek alphabet? That's 24. Who created the sculpture called The Thinker? That was Auguste Rodin. Which country has the longest coastline in the world? That's Canada. Robert Smith is the lead singer of which band? That's The Cure. Which purple vegetable is the usual main ingredient in the dish moussaka? That's the aubergine or eggplant. Who played the character Ross in Friends? That was David Schwimmer. How many hearts does an octopus have? That's 3. Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta is better known as who? That's Lady Gaga. The Christ the Redeemer statue overlooks which city? That's Rio de Janeiro. What name is given to a baby elephant? That's a calf. Which city hosted the 2000 Summer Olympics? That was Sydney. What was composer Schubert's first name? He was Franz Schubert. Charlotte, Jersey, and Yukon Gold are all varieties of which vegetable? They are all potatoes. Which branch of mathematics deals with data and probability? That's statistics. Which Queen song includes the words, Galileo, Galileo? That's Bohemian Rhapsody. What does the lacrimal gland produce? That's tears. Which 1986 film is the sequel to Alien? That's Aliens. As well as nutmeg, which other spice comes from the nutmeg tree? That's Mace. Which novel features the characters Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet? That's Pride and Prejudice. What is the more familiar name of the painting, La Gioconda? That's the Mona Lisa. What type of animal was Salem in the TV show, Sabrina the Teenage Witch? He was a cat. In language, what term means a word which is the opposite of another word? That's an antonym. Which musical features the song, I Feel Pretty? That's West Side Story. Qantas Airlines is based in which country? That's Australia. Which Stephen King novel is about a writer being held captive by his #1 fan? That's Misery. In the Bible, who was Adam and Eve's firstborn son? That was Cain. Al Gore was vice president to which US president? That was Bill Clinton. Beyoncé, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams were all in which band? That was Destiny's Child. Which country was formerly known as Ceylon? That's Sri Lanka. Which actor played the Joker in the 2008 film, The Dark Knight? That was Heath Ledger. Who was the first wife of Henry VIII? That was Catherine of Aragon. The biathlon combines cross-country skiing with which other sport? That's rifle shooting. What is usually grown in an arboretum? That's trees. Who wrote the poem, The Waste Land? That was T.S. Eliot. Who released the 1991 song, Enter Sandman? That was Metallica. In which city is the Anne Frank House located? That's Amsterdam. Which actor voiced the donkey in the film Shrek? That was Eddie Murphy. Who wrote the 1940 novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls? That was Ernest Hemingway. In water polo, how many players does each team have in the water at one time? That's 7. Which British monarch reigned immediately after Queen Victoria? That was Edward VII. In which country was actress Zendaya born? She was born in the USA. Which fellow tennis player did Steffi Graf marry in 2001? That was Andre Agassi. In Norse mythology, who is the god of thunder? That's Thor. What name is given to a triangle with three sides of equal length? That's an equilateral triangle. Who played John Watson in the 2010 TV series Sherlock? That was Martin Freeman. In which present-day country did the Battle of Waterloo take place? That's Belgium. Which band contains members Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend? That's The Who. Which country hosted the first Winter Olympics in 1924? That was France. Which actor played Harry Lime in the 1949 film The Third Man? That was Orson Welles. Mount Fuji is located in which country? It's in Japan. Which musician changed his name to a symbol in 1993? That was Prince. If you reveal a secret, you are said to be letting the what out of the bag. That's the cat. What is the name of Victoria and David Beckham's daughter? That's Harper 7. What is the official language of Brazil? That's Portuguese. Nevermind was a 1991 album by which band? That was Nirvana. What is the capital of the United Arab Emirates? That's Abu Dhabi. Who was the last Tsar of Russia? That was Nicholas II. Who played Princess Leia in the original Star Wars trilogy? That was Carrie Fisher. Madison Square Garden is located in which city? That's New York. Capybaras are native to which continent? That's South America. Who is Miley Cyrus's famous singing father? That's Billy Ray Cyrus. Which part of the body is affected by conjunctivitis? That's the eyes. The Brandenburg Gate is situated in which city? That's Berlin. Who is the lead singer of Coldplay? That's Chris Martin. Logan Airport is in which country? It's in the USA, in Boston. The TV series Stranger Things is set in which fictional city? That's Hawkins. How many points are scored for a touchdown in American football? That's 6. And finally, which single letter is the Roman numeral for 100? That's the letter C. That's it for today's quiz. Thanks for watching. How did you do? If you've made it this far, here's a bonus question. Which answer appeared 3 times in this quiz? Leave your answer in the comments. Scan the QR code or click the link to subscribe. And here's another quiz to watch right now. Hope to see you next time.